What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Writers. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast, and today on the show, we're going to talk about Kamen Rider Gavv episode 28. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Josh, today's slate is brought to you by the fine people at Fitbit / Wearable activity trackers.
Okay.
So as I was vaguely telling you pre-show, I've been trying to get the dog out more for exercise because both him and I need it. He put on a lot of winter weight. I'm gonna say so did I. So every day we try to do 2 miles together to burn off some calories and everything. And I always used Google Fit 'cause I have a Google phone, and like when you do like the walking tracking, it's kind of built in. It's like, hey, you took this vague path, but if you do like backwoods and stuff, it really just tags you to the road constantly. So it wouldn't always be like, hey, you walked down the mountain, back up the mountain. It would be like, hey, you took a lap around the parking lot kind of vibe.
Okay, yeah.
So this has irritated me for a while. So the other day, Amazon had spring sale, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to get super into the walking, keeping track of like if I'm going to drop calories or not, whatever, I want to get a wearable tracker. And I was thinking about a Google Watch, and then like Fitbits were on sale. And I was like, Fitbit, I know that name. I'm going to get one of these. So I got a Fitbit 6, and it arrived, and I found out, hey, this is tied to Google. Like Google owns Fitbit now.
Oh, I didn't realize that they bought them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So apparently like Google owns Fitbit. They're, as of soon, Fitbit accounts have to be Google accounts. Oh, that's fine. No big deal.
Okay.
So I go through the steps. I sync everything up. I'm like, wow, I'm getting good data tracking now. Like it's checking my pulse, which, as you know, for the past like month and a half, my crazy blood pressure and shit's been stressing me out.
Yep.
So I was like, this covers a whole lot of old man problems at the same time.
Yeah, definitely.
So my complaint here is when you do normal activity, it works fine. But as of today, like today's number, it tells me that I burnt 2,500 calories. And that seems near impossible considering I exercised once and walked 2 miles.
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
And then I was looking into Google Fit because I was like, okay, maybe it's a Fitbit thing and Google Fit does this. Google gives the same numbers. I looked online. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Fitbit, like the trend's high. You have to do 0.7% or times 0.70 to get the right number. And I'm thinking to myself, this all seems like bullshit already. And then other people said, oh, it's really like all the Fitbit and Fitbit type things just track your heart rate. So because my heart rate goes so high all the time, it just assumes I'm exercising all day. So it thinks I burnt 2,000 some calories today by sitting mainly on my ass just because my heart rate goes up.
Because that's the only the only real data they have is heart rate tracking. So it's like, well, okay.
Yeah. So like,
and they don't know anything about your actual body. So it's like, well, normally people with a heart rate this level burn this many calories. So here we go. I'm going to do some math.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's supposed to be like 80 BPM all day. And this dude's rocking 100, 110 on the regular. He must be exercising like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So I got real mad because if this was the early tech of like Fitbit 1 or when all this shit started, I guess it would make more sense. I don't understand how these dumb things work, or it can't even track me properly. That seems upsetting. That's upsetting to me.
Well, they've always been bad. Like those sort of trackers, I mean, they're cool for what they can do, but like they've always had limitations. Like, remember the early like pedometers and stuff people would get where you could just like shake them up and down and then count steps, and it's like, okay, I'm doing so many steps here, shaking my pedometer.
So I remember that for 2 reasons. One, because my uncle or my grandmother had one when I was growing up, and I thought it was the funniest thing. Like, I think it was my uncle who was way more strict about like tracking stats and stuff for like exercise and everything.
Uh-huh.
I would shake it and the numbers would go up real fast, and I would think it was funny. And then later he'd be like, you can't just shake this. It threw me off 75 steps. Like, you're really fucking up my day here. And I'd be like, oh, I guess that's a bummer. Okay. Like, I understood it, but it was super manual. And like, those were literally just like a pendulum and a clock. I mean, it's kind of the same way the gyroscope works on the phone. But it was basically just like you're manually shaking this little thing that when it taps aside, it rolls the number over. But tied to that then, do you remember when they had the first Pokemon walkable pedometer?
I think it came out with silver, right? the original one?
So there was one that came with one of the Pokemon games, but there was also a Pikachu Tamagotchi that was walking based. I mean, my friend both had one of those in middle school. I thought that was the coolest thing. And then, like, when you're in middle school, you really just sit in class all day. And, I mean, vaguely active, but not really. But Pikachu needed steps to convert into electric bolts, to eat the electric bolts and be able to sustain himself.
Yeah.
So the one day we decided, maybe I was older. No, it was high school. Because when we were older, the one day we decided to just duct tape my Pikachu walker to the wheel of my car. And then when you drive, Pikachu gets a lot of exercise.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, Pikachu's getting dragged behind the car.
He's like fully charged up. Like it's almost like a generator.
Yeah, I was right. Yeah, the Pokewalker came out with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, so the remakes of Gold and Silver had the Pokewalker. I had Heart Gold at the time as a kid, but I did not get the package with the Pokewalker in it because it was more expensive. So I just got I think they were two separate versions if I remember right, because I don't think I ever had the Pokewalker, and it was very sad. Yeah, they that was like, I feel like the Pokewalker was the beginning of them being like, we can do fucking anything with this series. Like, these idiots are gonna buy anything. Like, we can charge them like an extra $40 and give them a stupid pedometer. Let's go.
Yeah, and like it's funny because all that, like, somehow this all naturally rolled into Pokemon Go, which they've turned into like the greatest moneymaker of all time.
Yeah, totally. Didn't someone just buy Pokemon Go? Pokemon Go.
I thought the big Chinese place bought Tenrin, 10 something.
Niantic is
like Niantic got bought, I thought.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Niantic, live Googling here, everyone. Bought, buyout. Sold its business to Scopely, a mobile gaming company, for $3.5 billion. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of, not only the IP tied to that, the amount of money that people sink into it still, apparently. Like, that seems like a steal.
Well, I mean, like, it does, but also like I guess, yeah, their technology and stuff is good, sort of underlying, but like, their company, they don't own Pokemon. Like, they're just licensing Pokemon.
Like they're like the official sponsor of Pokemon.
It's just crazy that like they're bought for $3.5 billion for their game where they have to license the part of it that makes everyone like it. Like, that's just awesome that there's like that much value baked into that game, I guess.
So looking at Scopely's website, because I was curious where this billions of dollars came from, they actually own most of the officially licensed Goofy phone games that are popular right now. Like they own Monopoly Go, Stumble Guys, Yahtzee with Buddies, Star Trek game, Marvel Strike Force, WWE Champions, Scrabble Go, some bingo games. Like, they seem like they own all the IPs. So Pokemon buyout seems on brand.
Yeah. So basically, they're secretly the most powerful game publisher in the world, right? Because they own all those games that no one cares about, no one knows about, but all secretly make like $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right? It's the ones no one talks about. But like, I think you and I, it may have been on a podcast or it may have been offline, but we were talking about that Monopoly game at some point that's just a slot machine.
Yeah.
Was I talking about that with you? Yeah. And that game apparently makes like so much money.
Well, especially too, like all the licensed games I just mentioned, like all those Go games you can pay in the games. The Marvel game, I'll assume, is pay to win, match 3 gotcha shit. I'll assume Star Trek's the same. I know WWE Champions is basically that game, and Pokemon now is buy the Pokeballs or whatever the hell you buy in Pokemon for the Pokestops. So just more money.
More money.
They're spending money and they're making money.
Do you ever feel bad? Do you ever get bummed out that this is what games have become? just gotcha games. Just everything is a gotcha game. Even $60 games that you buy have gotcha mechanics now. Does that bum you out? It bums me out a lot.
If it's free money, I don't care.
What do you mean if it's free money?
Because like some gotcha games are like all pure in-game currency. It doesn't matter at all. Where I can't spend money if I wanted to. And
I'm talking about Well, yeah. I mean, like, I feel like those are more rare now. I feel like most games are like, hey, you can earn this in-game currency or you can buy it with real money. It's going to take you 100 hours if you don't buy it with real money.
I didn't really care until the day that hit Assassin's Creed, when the first
Is that
live service
fully?
one that I remember.
Yeah.
That upset me.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when it's on phones, it's like, okay, that sucks that this is the way phone games have gone. But like, okay, fine. But then when it hits like actual like console PC games and they still cost money, but then they also still have that, it's like, what are we doing? Like what is this?
Because like in theory, I know like I bought the phone game for free, so I understand the logistics behind. We have to make money here somehow, and if you don't want to see ads, like we need to do something here.
Yeah.
So that I get. But yeah, like any of the games that have the full built-in stuff is really, and like I guess I don't notice it as much because A, I would never pay for those types of things, and B, like I don't waste my disposable income on it. But like when
Yeah.
you're a kid and stuff, like we like said about the crates a while ago. I see how you get hooked. You have like
Oh, for sure.
$10 a week, and you're like, I need a new Pokemon. How else am I gonna get this pack open? And then it all goes downhill.
It's one of those things that like, yeah, from a serious perspective, yeah, it's one of those crazy things of like, it's wild that that's not more regulated than it is because it's just pure gambling for kids. Um, but you know, from an adult who's playing it, it's just like, it's just blatant naked capitalism that's always like thrown in my face when I'm trying to do my, leisure hobby. Especially as someone who, I would say like primarily I'm like a card game player, like coming from a long history of Magic the Gathering and now like Marvel Snap and stuff. The games that I like to play the most are the games that are most riddled with this crap. I think it's why it annoys me the most. Is like, the Marvel arenas of the world desperately need you to spend money constantly, as does Marvel Snap. Needs you to buy the season pass, needs you to buy all this gold and buy all these variants, and it's just annoying. I just want to play the game. That's all. That's old Grandpa Josh's rant for the day, I guess.
There you go.
Speaking of Fitbit, we have a Fitbit beef in this household, Toby, because my wife years ago owned a Fitbit prior to like getting into the Apple Watch ecosystem and stuff, and hers I think just quit working. This would have been prior to Google getting them, and so she like went through like the normal like talk to support thing, and it might have been like as they were like getting bought out, because like it was so terrible they ended up just like stopped responding to her. Like she replied to their email or whatever, and it seemed like she was on the path to getting a replacement, and they just quit responding. And she emailed back a couple times being like, okay, so like what do we do next, like what's the next step? And they just never answered, and then she just never got her like expensive stupid Fitbit replaced. So yeah, they're officially dead to me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, their tracking sucks too.
Yeah, take that. I thought you were going to tell me that it didn't even work on your phone when you first said it was Google, by the way.
That made me nervous. Like the reason
Yeah.
I was looking at, because there's the Eura things too, like the rings you can wear, and I was like, I kind of want a phone watch thing. So like, went to the Google ones and then the Samsung, and I was like, it got me in that weird scared ground of when you buy what I call a generic to the phone that you have, I always get nervous that's not going to work. So at least Fitbit, I was like, I guess this is pretty close. So at least it worked. But
I think the Pebbles are coming back too. Those were like all the rage back in 2013 or whatever. As another generic phone watch thing that counts your steps and stuff.
Apparently, that it's called Repebble now. But
Repebble.
They have a website. They said this was a Kickstarter in 2012, which I feel like makes it a very early Kickstarter thing. Then,
yeah, super early. Yeah, they were one of the first like Kickstarter successes, I guess, or like really really popular ones that made it more mainstream for sure.
Fitbit owns Pebble.
Do they? Oh, they own the Pebble name.
Yeah,
Fitbit owns everything. Fitbit's gonna.
They bought him like
own
2018
this podcast soon.
Yeah. This episode not sponsored by Fitbit unless they pay me.
Not at all. But this episode is here, Toby, to talk about Kamen Rider. So let's jump over and discuss Kamen Rider Gavv. Before I do that, I want to point out that we do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/thecommentwriters is where you can find that. And we do a bunch of bonus content. We're watching Kamen Rider shows from the past. We're watching Super Sentai. You get to watch those along with us and hear us joking and laughing and generally making the yucks over top of the shows. And that's super fun.
We ramble like crazy.
Indeed, we do. You get access to our Discord. You get access to a Minecraft server that we've spun up. All sorts of fun stuff over there for $3 a month. So patreon.com/thecommentwriters. We hope you do check that out. And this week, Toby, we're talking about Kamen Rider Gavv, episode 28. And
I feel like you said 26 earlier. I know you didn't, or maybe you did.
Yeah.
But
is this how you tell me you watched the wrong episode today?
I don't know. It just sounds. For whatever reason, I thought when you introed it, I was like, "Oh, you said 26." It seems. I was like, "Oh, just past the halfway point," and now we're up to 28. Like, no, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, you've aged 3 weeks in the past 10 minutes of the show.
That's highly likely.
Here's how I can check whether you watched the right episode or not, Toby. How gay was the Kamen Rider episode that you watched today?
Not very.
Was it really gay?
How about that?
What'd you say?
I said not really. How about that?
Okay, you watched the wrong one then. This episode is a good one. We have an email this week from Shade, who kind of talks through a little bit of it, and so I'll kind of maybe throw in bits and pieces of his starter email here as we go. But Shade points out, and this is I think interesting to point out as we start talking about the episode, that this is the end of the second arc of the show. So this is kind of an episode with some finality to it.
Some
finish.
Some riding each other into the sunset.
Exactly. So we'll jump in and we'll see where that goes here. So of course we have Shoma and we have Hanto back together again. We open the show with the two of them together at Sachika's shop, and Hanto is still pretty upset, we'll say, about the revelations about his father figure. But Shoma gets a call from Sachika, and he's kind of like trying to sort of tell her Hanto's not doing great without really telling her that over the phone. He's like, physically, we are both doing okay.
Our bodies are still moving.
Yeah. But, they're there. But while Shoma is on the phone, Hanto kind of starts to think about things, and he decides to head out on his own. He's got some further investigating to do.
And nothing ever goes wrong when he investigates. That's definitely
He's got a long track record of everything going just fine with this.
Reflecting back, I know when the show started, he was an investigator. Did he ever actually get anything done properly? Like, I feel like the first episode or two might have had some stuff going on, but he re-met Sachika pretty early, where they were like, where he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna ask her to change my weekly search results from this to Kamen Riders or Master Riders or whatever." So I know we heard him talking about stories, and he at least went to one, because that's when the boss man died.
Yep.
But I really don't remember him investigating anything at all, now that I really think about it.
Yeah, we primarily have seen him investigate the monster issue. Really, really early on, I think that there was a point where he was asking a woman like about her dead husband or something. And he was presenting it as like, I'm just like getting information about this thing that happened. Then he realizes her answers might mean that she saw a monster, and he gets excited. And that's when he pulls out that drawing that he had. And he starts sort of monster investigating. So even the stuff that we saw him do that wasn't about the monster investigation ended up being about monsters. So I don't know that we ever saw any like non-Granute investigation cases from him, really.
Okay, that's fair.
That I recall. Yeah. He's been on this case for a long time. That's why it's so important to him. And next up in the show, we had to call Sachika on the phone because her and Rakia are still over at Uncle Denty's house, and
she's making it look nice, man. She's making it look nice. She's cleaning up. I appreciate the fact that she wrote a fucking rule poster, like live, laugh, love. But Rules of cleaning. Rule number 1, cleaning can be fun as long as you do it properly. Rule number 2, clean up 2 times a day or else I'm going to get mad at you. And she even like gives him like this weird like a glance of like, you're going to do this though. And then like starts smiling again.
Yeah, you're going to follow my rules. I wrote down for the section, Denty's new chic cave is great. It's just so chic and modern now. And so cute. It was great that like it looked like Sachika's style. Like when she got his house all done, his cave all done, it looked like her home base. And I was like, okay, yeah, there's a continuity here that I really appreciate.
If she was going to sleep in a cave, this would definitely be the cave she sleeps in.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that she just will adopt any of these like wayward Granoots now. So it's just like, well, yeah, he clearly needs his place all like glammed up, so I'm gonna do that for him.
It's funny because I guess we'll call that the power of like Shoma's K-ness or Shoma's just I'm a beautiful puppy, love me, I'm a good puppy vibe. That she met him. We will assume she knew he was different in some way before he told her because of how well she took it a couple episodes ago. But ever since she met like the nice boy or the nice version of what they could be, any other one that Shoma is vaguely around, that he vaguely vouches for, she's just like, okay, new best friend too. I don't care. Sure.
Yeah, she has this like clearly has this rule in her head of like, hey, if you're okay with Shoma, then you're okay with me. Like if he vouches for you, then yeah, then you're okay in my book.
He's the marker.
Totally. Yeah, he definitely is her North Star for how people should be treated. Which makes sense because like she knows there are bad Granoots in the world, right?
She's seen them, she's lost friends to them, she's had jobs about them.
But she knows hers is a good one. So she's like, okay, I trust him. So that's gonna be my guiding light for which of these Granoots I should be trusting and which I shouldn't. And Rakia continues to be awesome. Like he's a beast in this episode because he is hanging out with Denty and he hears about kind of the Suga nonsense that has happened. And he was like, oh yeah, I know about that dude. I was at his place one time. He grabs his driver and just to follow his thread, he shows up at Suga's, confronts him, and then fights and destroys every one of the bitter Gavs. He just wipes out the whole operation. I thought that was awesome. That he's just like this one-man art marching in there.
It was awesome, and like when he saw it, he's very nonplussed as always, and doesn't really give a shit. Like it was basically a fish tank of what looked to be 20 or 30 Shoma fish human babies grown up, whatever. And he just goes, huh, freaky. And just blasts a hole through and kills all of them. Like, just does not care.
Totally. He's really learned a lot from Shoma here because this is the definition of like putting in the legwork. Remember that early on, he was like, man, I guess he actually like got up and worked for it. He had that realization. This is him being like, you know what? If you want something done, you just got to go do it.
Yeah, he learned from the best. They all take their mini cues from Shoma.
Yep.
So tied to the Shoma tank, and then tied to the ending, I want to jump ahead and stay at this point at the same time. I have a question for you.
Okay.
So Login 9 walks in the room, blows up the Shoma tank. A sock flies out. We hear the baby noises. We see a picture of Suga holding a baby. And then we see a whole bunch of little baby booties and everything else. At the end, when Suga looks near dead, almost dead, whatever, he does the whole, humans are weirdly fragile. And there's flashbacks to him holding the baby that was in the picture. Are they going to try to push, sell, deal us, whatever, a sad Suga backstory where his child was murdered by a Granoot? And that's why he's both power hungry but trying to make babies.
I don't know if he's going to be murdered by a Granoot, but certainly they're pushing you the story of man lost child, so man goes off the deep end, being obsessed with immortality. I don't know if they'll tie it into the Granoot stuff, but definitely like clearly he lost a kid, and like essentially, Toby, he's Elon Musk. It sounds like, where he was maybe at some point kind of normal, but then like in Musk's case, got divorced and went insane. In this guy's case, maybe his kid died and went a little insane. My thought was that, because I went down that route too of just like, oh, he's creating these bitter Gavv as like replacement children. But then he had that moment. Remember, he was so against them calling him dad. So
yeah,
I think he did.
Okay, so
it ties in, right? Because he doesn't want them to see him as dad, because he doesn't want them to replace his kid he actually loved. but he's trying to still like create life to replace the kid. So he's like, it's a weird like torn feeling inside of him is kind of, I think, what they're trying to go for. I thought that was a cool angle.
And now that you mentioned that, I guess that makes more sense too, where if he is trying, because the whole pitch was, I'm trying to make the perfect being, or the perfect human, or whatever the hell he words it as.
Yeah.
So if all the adult-ish teenager shomas are not the answer, maybe that's tied to it too, where like he doesn't want all the stepkids to call him dad. He wants to make the actual baby that we see the picture of in the one scene, and then the baby can call him dad. And then
I think so. Yeah, I think that's probably his misguided goal is what I'm taking away from this. Is just like, now these are the imperfect copies that I'm learning from. They're just research fodder. I don't care about them, but I need to learn everything I can so I can remake my perfect child.
If he's going full hero mode, a Granute somehow killed the baby, which I think anything tying to babies and media is usually like, we're not killing kids or something along those lines. Or I don't know. The thing about what show it is, I don't know if they'll do baby murder, but I feel like
I think that's mostly a Western thing that you're feeling. I think Toei is gonna sign up for baby murder. I don't know.
So then that works. So then if it's pure baby murder redemption, then he's gonna get the full good guy push at the end. If it's just, my kid died, I want a new kid, it'll probably be a little less, and it'll be a little less good guy-ish, and just I push back to maybe a little above neutral as a human, or as a Granute, or whatever we call he is.
Yeah, I was sitting there watching that part and thinking to myself, like, is this set up for future Suga stories, or are you just very quickly giving me a tragic backstory for Suga, and it won't come up again?
You're supposed to be upset that he got killed or near killed.
Right. So was it like, man, why is this guy such a dick? And then at the end, they're showing me why. I was like, oh, because he had this whole thing going on. It could just be that, right? It could be like Suga's dead. Because at the end he looks pretty dead. Like, I don't know. Like, so the very end of the episode, he's sitting there. He says the thing he said. He's got like, I don't know. His face looks all insane. He looks like he has tree bark for skin or something around his neck. Like he's like fading away. Kind of. He's all beat up.
What? And we established that.
He like withers when he uses
he went hard with the fight.
Yeah, so he's like withering away, and Nielv walks up and sort of says, like, what, like, I'll take it from here or something like that. Like, I got this.
He basically passed the torch himself because Suga was not well enough to pass the torch.
Yeah. So if with these shows, I'm always thinking like, all right, we haven't seen the last of that person, but the way that Nielv said like, I'll take it from here, made me think that maybe that just is the end for Shoma, or what we'll see of him. Like, I don't know that he's gonna loop back around as a big bad, but I might be wrong. But I was reading it at the time of watching this. I was reading it as, okay, his arc is done. They were showing us with the baby like a little bit of sort of tragic backstory, and now we're gonna shift back over to the Stomach family again, or to at least Nielv being, more of the head researcher bad guy.
Yeah, because at that point he did his tests. Hanto split off from needing him, who was like his perfect grown-up boy. Pidgey can do his own research, and that finally puts us back to worrying about the Stomach family for the third part of the season, the last arc or whatever we're coming up on. If it's the full ending arc, there's like 2 more left. But like we said last week, we haven't seen the stomach family forever. So at least this seems like the natural transition of, okay, it's their story again. We're gonna go back the other way.
Yeah, I agree. I think to chop the show up into arcs like we're talking about here, like arc 1 establishes the world, establishes the stomach family kind of as necessities because they're sort of the impetus of a lot of the things that happen in the world. And then in arc 2, we've kind of mostly meandered around telling Hanto's story, which mostly involves Suga and less focus on the actual stomach family. And now that kind of all that's done, now we can sort of swerve back to the stomach family and kind of finish things out. That makes sense. But it rarely goes exactly how we're thinking. But that was my vibe, at least. We'll jump back kind of to where we were a little bit here because I don't want to miss out on talking about Hanto's incredible emotional journey that he goes on in this episode.
Because effectively, other than Suga dying and Sachika showing us that we can live in the cave together, I really feel like the rest of the episode is pretty much just Hanto's big adventure, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He obviously has to like work through the feelings of like my father figure is dead, and I think they do a good job of that. He like kind of like he goes back and visits his office, and he's got the little like press in his hand still of the guy being dead, and he reminisces about their time together, which is all great. I think that all that's awesome, and I think Hanto, the actor, does an amazing job showing emotion here. I found it very funny that the father figure, the boss actor, wasn't in the show very much, so they didn't have very many clips of him. So they had to like play sentimental music and like do this like reminiscent slow down, blurry vision dream sequences of him being like completely normal. Like I was getting the vibe of just like him being like, yeah, I'll take a cup of coffee black, and then being like piano music over top of it. Like, it was so sad that he's gone. It felt like a thing where they were doing it because they had to, because they just didn't have any more footage. And if this was a movie or if this was like a bigger budget production, they would have shot more scenes for that guy so they could have better scenes to reminisce to. You know what I mean? Like they would have gone back and had him, sharing a meal with Hanto and offering some advice or something as a better scene. But here it's just like, it's him sitting at his desk and smiling. That's pretty much all we have.
Yeah, all from the same episode. Oh, they probably sped down the clips just so it like lingers a little more. But yeah, it was silly. Like, I guess much like I don't remember investigating, I also don't remember a bunch of the dad being there anymore. Maybe that first episode before all Hanto stuff started switching. But again, like, it's not as bad as some of the other episodes or seasons where they want you to care about something that they never cared about before, and now they're like, "Hey, that you're supposed to care about this now.
Yeah,
we're gonna do this." So there was at least like some emotion tied to it, but we had 5 minutes of 2 episodes apiece of hanging out with him, and then he died just so Hanto could get powers. And we're just like, "Oh, this is a thing."
Yeah.
Okay.
I care about it now because I care about Hanto, and like Hanto's actor and the way that they write that character is really, really good. So like his emotional journey that he's gone on, I'm invested in, but they didn't give me a reason. I wish they had built it up a bit more to actually care about the dad as a person and to give me a reason to like, because mostly we've heard from Hanto about how he's kind of a father figure, right? We haven't necessarily, they didn't ever show us that with him because they just didn't really have much time to. So yeah, you're totally right. Like it's not as bad as some of the things we've seen, but it's not perfect, but it's whatever.
It's definitely the best they could do.
Yeah. Hanto is like bashing his head against the wall because he's so upset when Shoma comes and finds him, and basically they end up sharing a frappe, a chocolate frappe, which I'm assuming it's just like we have here, right? Like it's like a ice cream coffee drink.
So that, at first I would have said yes, because like the frappe things are usually Starbucks slushy drinks,
Right.
but I feel like they're like, at least here, I feel like they're way more slushy coffee than they are ice cream. I mean,
And that seemed more ice cream.
yeah, it
here.
gets into like the weird convo or the weird conversation whatever, that even like Shoma and Hanto had, where Shoma's like, eat ice cream, it makes your soul feel better. And Hanto goes, well, I don't really like sweets. Like, I don't know about this. And then he's like, and then he made a joke like, I feel like people usually just give you a warm drink or something nice. And Shoma just goes, I'll do that next time then. Don't worry about it. But but looking at what, not so much Shoma's, but Hanto's, it just looked like chocolate soft serve ice cream in a cup. And that's kind of what like even the figure thing turns into. So I feel like that's a different thing in Japan than here. But maybe it's,
yeah, I'm looking at Starbucks Japan pictures, and their frappuccinos even look a bit more ice creamy than I think that ours do. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell in pictures. So yeah, it could be more of a Japan likes it more ice creamy,
or at least
than we tend to do.
At least looking at these pictures, I know like the pictures they make are pretty legit compared to how pictures work here.
Yeah,
I can't tell if it's just real nice fluffy like whipped cream that looks nice. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be too, but it looks pretty legit. I guess it does look more ice creamy than here, at least. Like someone like, there's an exclusive classic chocolate symphony frappuccino at Starbucks, and it basically almost looks like what the ice cream was. And this,
that's the one I saw. Yeah, that it looked identical. Yeah.
So
that's the exact one.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe, I mean, it could just be different there. We don't have to dive into this too hard, but it's probably just different there.
Yeah. It looked delicious in the show, I will say that. And they both seem to enjoy it. And this is really where this show is just secretly a boys' love show starts, because this is purely like a date here. Like this is them. This is they like each other, but they haven't quite admitted it yet. But they both know it. Shoma sits down basically on top of Hanto here. Like everything about it is romantic, and I, you know what, I'm just gonna say it is.
Well, I liked the vibe of the line that Shoma said, like made a joke of, where Hanto says, like people drink warm drinks, like presumably like warm milk to feel better or something like that. And Shoma just says, okay, next time I'll do it right, effectively.
Yeah. Yep.
It already codes it as Shoma saying like, oh, as we have more bad times together in our life, I'll bring you the drink that actually makes you feel better and not the one that makes me feel better. But I still want you to try it because, this could be good.
You're totally right. That is coded as, we're going to spend more time like this together. So we'll have plenty of opportunity for me to get this right on our future dates.
Yeah. Oh,
exactly.
Well, when we fight, you want to have quiet time first and not just argue right away? Sure. I'll try to work towards giving you quiet time in the future. I'll help you out, buddy.
I understand how you work. Shoma at some point too has a nice speech about facing things head on, and that clearly, inspires Hanto as well. So that's cool. I like that. I like when Shoma can turn it on and be like, not 100% not adult, but like someone who just doesn't know what he's doing, right? Like a complete sort of like noob at the world. I like when he can be insightful about things.
But yeah, like to the like his speeches throughout the episode, his rants, so to speak, the actor acting as the character is doing a fantastic job. It's very adult dramatic and not just kids TV show dramatic, I feel like.
Totally.
And
agreed.
For all the shitty makeup they've ever done for beat up people in these shows, Hanto's this time looked the most real of someone actually getting their ass kicked. Like, it didn't look like a fake black eye. It looked like a real black eye. Like, it was all, his face looked actually like beat up. And it just made like all the things more dramatic, especially when it was like, no, like this is my internal struggle. Like, I need to be better too. If he's trying to be better and he's suffering because of me, this is fucking bullshit. I need to stop, get out of my zone here and everything.
I liked the moment when Shoma finds him, and then Hanto, he kind of like screams and kind of collapses on top of Shoma and says something along the lines of basically like you're like, why are you, I can't remember how he worded it, but basically like the vibe is like, you've been doing so badly because I'm doing so badly. Like, why are you letting yourself get dragged down by me? Kind of a thing. So it was like I'm distraught, but I also know the effect it's having on you, which is totally like a relationship thing, right? Whether it is platonic or not, like it's a next level of a relationship thing when you start thinking about how not just how your mood is, but how your mood affects the other people, or the other person. And that was very sweet. I thought that was a very cute moment in his horrible he's having a crisis. He's still thinking about now how it's affecting Shoma. I think that's cool. And of course Shoma tries to stand up for him and face off against Suga, but Hanto needs to be there to fight his battles too. Hanto sees that Uncle Denti is making a new driver for him, and he grabs it and runs off before he can hear the important news, Toby, that it wasn't quite finished. So Denti has made a driver that is a copy of Login 9's driver that uses the pudding system. And so it's different than what Hanto is used to here with the guns. But the pudding that he took didn't have anything in it because Denti doesn't know how to fill that up yet. So Hanto kind of goes through his like henshin sequence and then nothing happens, and that's great. And then he just gets his butt kicked basically for a while by Suga, and looks very, very convincing, and just kind of gets completely worked over until, because of the love that the chocolate frappe can bring you, Shoma spawns a chocolate frappe, hands it to Suga, and now Suga can use that on his new driver to morph into the chocolate frappe version of Valen.
I thought like the vibe behind it of, hey friend, you're stressed out because of me, you can't make good cheeses because of me, and like the relief that they both had together where Shoma could make the chocolate frappuccino thing. I thought like the sentiment behind it is wonderful, and it worked extremely well. And then for the pure comical aspect of it, Shoma's basically been constipated for weeks because when the chocolate thing comes out, was even like, oh, we were blocked up in there for a while. I'm glad I finally made it out of here. And it's just basically like, okay, so Shoma was constipated because he was stressed out about his relationship. And now that his relationship relaxed, so did he. And then the poop came out.
Yeah, exactly. He got that romantic poop to come out. And what are your thoughts on the Frappe Kamen Rider?
It looks cool. It reminds me of, if you remember from Gotchard, the UFO X form, where he had like the UFO around his neck and it stuck out a bunch.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that, just not as dramatically in the way. And the neck guard itself kind of bothers me just because it looks too bulky and excessive. But everything else looks cool. I mean, it basically looks like the chocolate version of what Hanto is supposed to be for all this stuff. So
my general vibe watching this was like, how do they keep getting away with this? Like, how do they keep coming up with like badass Kamen Rider forms that are based on like hilarious food? Like it shouldn't work as well as it does, but it's awesome. Like it both looks like a chocolate frappe, but like also looks like an awesome Kamen Rider. The same way with, Valen and his chocolate bars, the same way with the whole pudding aesthetic that we have with Login 9. Like it evokes the thing it's supposed to evoke, but it just works as armor too. Even the dumb straw sticking out of the back is awesome and looks good. So I was very into it. I see your vibe of the UFO form. I feel like anytime we get into the more advanced forms in Kamen Rider, they end up getting very bulky around the chest and shoulder area. That's just like always a thing. And this one is venturing down that path for sure.
He's like he's half ice cream cone, but just kind of looks silly.
And I like that Hanto's going to have a driver now from now on. I like that he actually gets something on his waist instead of just using the gun thing.
So I guess like at least a simple question tied to that. I guess Shoma just eats ice cream for him for the time being until we lock down the pudding system, which I'm sure will be an episode or two because that's not really that big of a deal. I have to worry about it. But I guess we just know that works, like just in case shit goes bad, Shoma can eat some more ice cream and everyone's good to go.
Yeah, we at least I guess have a system in place for him being able to henshin again, but maybe we'll be able to manufacture these down the road too. Who knows? But yeah, very very exciting new form there. And then of course we have we have the fight. We've kind of talked through that a little bit, and we've talked through the end of Suga ? We'll see if we see more of him. But then of course the big thing in this episode is the end, where we kind of have a little moment, I guess, between Hanto and Suga, and it's a it's a declaration of friendship, love, however you want to call it. But Shoma is giving Hanto a piggyback ride home, and Hanto tells him like, "Hey, things are complicated between us still, but I like you, so we're gonna keep working on it."
Yeah, like,
and that was so cute.
To keep it to the relationship joke, I guess, like the sentiment was basically, I can't trust you yet. You did something like you essentially did something bad, even though like Shoma didn't. But he's like, I don't fully love you the same yet as I used to, but we'll get back there. Like we'll work on it, kind of thing. So it was cute.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like it's just acknowledging the baggage, right? Like not that you even did anything wrong. It's just that like we've got a lot sort of under the bridge between us at this point. And, we're talking about the joke of it being romantic, but like I don't think it's really like a joke if that I'm not saying that it'd be funny if they were romantically involved. I think that's that'd be cool, and I think that is actually what at this point I think that's what they're genuinely hinting at. I think that I don't think they'll go that far because it's it's a kids TV show, but I think because they don't go that far with like heterosexual relationships in Kamen Rider either. So I don't think we'll get 100% confirmation, but I think it feels like that's sort of what the vibe is this season.
Yeah.
And I think that's neat. So I'm not trying to make fun of it if that's what it sounds like, but it is adorable. I really like these two together, and it's impressive from a writing standpoint that in episode 28 I can see a confession of love during a piggyback ride, and I'm like, you know what, warranted. Like we got here, and I get how we got here. I think that's pretty cool. So now the family's all together, and did you notice, Toby? This was the roadway that we see during the intro scene, where like everybody's hanging out, walking together during the intro. This is the like elevated road where we see that happen at.
I will believe you. I never thought about that, and especially because this episode was so important. There was no intro. I can't even go back and double check right now.
That's true. You just like when things in the intro happen in the show, so this felt like one to note because it's the same road.
Now I know they did.
So yeah, I'm very into this this whole whatever it is between the two of them. I'm glad that they've patched things up. It was a long time coming, and I'm really excited to see what happens next here in Kamen Rider Gavv. As I mentioned, we did get an email from Shade this week. Our email address is cast@KamenRiderSucks.com, by the way. That is cast@KamenRiderSucks.com. So feel free to send us in emails about anything that you would like. You can talk about Kamen Rider, talk about anything else, ask us questions, whatever, send those over. But our friend Shade did send an email talking a bit about the second arc. So Shade had some thoughts kind of about the arc as a whole, so I can share those with you now. Shade says, so what do you guys think about the second arc of Gavv as a whole?
Pretty good.
Personally, I think the second arc was good, but I prefer the first arc a bit more. The second arc introduced more drama between the characters and more rider versus rider action, which for the most part was handled really well, but I can't really shake the feeling that Hanto's arc didn't resolve in a super satisfying way. It's just that we've had months of build-up for his crash out, for him to just overcome it in one episode, and that felt too quick for me. Not to mention how we only got Suga as a full-on active villain for just 2 episodes. That didn't feel like a lot of time. Other than that, I have no other notes. Everything else is perfect. Oh, and a funny thing, after this episode, Shoma and Hanto might be the contender for second gayest writer duo of all time. They're only the second because the gayest writer duo actually had an on-screen gay sex scene. That says a lot about their relationship. Joey, I had to look this up. Would you like to know about the gay sex scene that happened in Kamen Rider?
So from the words, I feel like I can piece it together. But if you want to share them as well, you're more than welcome to.
I found the video earlier. Let me re-find the video for you if I can. But basically, this was in Rider Time, which
hey,
is
whoa. That's a good name.
What's up? It is, and it's already taken by the actual people who make these shows. So, so I guess the big caveat. I sent you the link there in Discord. The big caveat here is that this wasn't in an aired on television episode of Kamen Rider. This is in Rider Time Ryuki, which is a spin-off on their like streaming service or whatever. Like, so it's basically like a web series, and clearly it's much more adult in theme. Because as you'll see from the video that I linked you, it begins with some murder.
The fact that I don't know how I feel about you making me go on Tumblr. We're going to start there.
It's the only place I could find it was on Tumblr, which is fitting. So basically what happens, for those of you that can't see this video, I don't know any of these characters. I've never seen this show. One man stabs another man in the heart with a knife while he's eating dinner. Another man stabs the same man. The man that got stabbed twice fades away. Then we cut to the bedroom where the two characters disrobe, kiss each other, and the camera pulls out as they lay down in the bed and clearly begin to conduct intercourse. So yeah, that happened. We had an on-screen gay sex scene in a Kamen Rider. So I guess that's the bar that Gavv has to meet. Which is very fun. So that happened. If anyone out there is playing along at home, that was in episode 2 of Rider Time Ryuki. So based on Kamen Rider Ryuki, and yeah, I found that in the plot synopsis as well for the episode to confirm that it was the right episode.
I guess if people are posting their opinions, we can discuss them. I don't think Hanto's crash out into fix was short. I feel like it was most of the past 4 or 5 episodes, if not more.
Agreed.
Like maybe the final fix happened quick at the end of the arc, but I guess it had to. But it seems like he's been moping, sassing, complaining about Shoma and, hey, we're friends again. Hey, we're not friends again. Hey, my mom. Hey, not my mom. That feels like at least the past month or 2 at this point. So I feel like if anything, it took a little too long for him to get over it. But the fix is quick. I will agree with that.
Yeah, to be fair to Shade's point, that is what he's saying. He's saying that we've had months of like build up where he's angry, and like that was brewing for so long that for him to in one episode being like, all right, I'm all good now.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
like that's what he's saying, which makes sense. I feel like that is a very frequent Kamen Rider thing. Of like something bad happens.
The fast fix is always the problem, because
exactly,
even from the seasons that I've seen, that's come up many times now. Where I say like, oh, the classic 2-episode arcs. Where there's a giant problem coming out of episode 1, and the beginning of episode 2 is just over and done with, and it doesn't matter how big of a deal it is. Like Dark Keiwa was cranky for like 2 episodes, and the next one was just like, oh, I'm better now. It's okay.
Yeah, because you got to reset everything so you're there for your next arc, and it's that is like a frequent thing. Is the fast fix is a problem. It's not just Kamen Rider. I was noticing this last night in Riverdale, which I'm continuing to watch through as well, which is a crazy show, by the way. I'm in season 2. I know it gets even crazier, but there's so many times in that show where a character will be like, I don't want to date him. He's a sexist. And then it'll be like a scene later, we'll be like, I don't know. The sexist said some nice things to me. and then they're dating all of a sudden. So yeah, like lots of media, I guess, do that exact same thing. Very quickly, Toby, one fact about Riverdale that I have to tell you. In season 2, at one point very early on in the season, the sheriff says like, "Oh yeah, he must have been hopped up on some meth or some jingle jangle." And I was like, jingle jangle is a really funny one-off like joke name for a drug. Like I love that they made up the name jingle jangle for this one scene. And then very quickly I realized, oh, jingle jangle's like the majority of the plot of season 2. Jingle jangle is their drug. A bunch of the kids start doing jingle jangle. It's in every episode. And you get jingle jangle and you take it in one of those like candy powder sugar straws. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And you telling me all this, it must have been before Riverdale. But Trader Joe's has an item called Jingle Jangle or Kringle,
Okay.
something like that, something like that. And
I'm
it's the
Googling it
one,
right now.
and it's the one time I actually trended on Twitter because somehow that came up with Trader Joe's, and I made a joke about it sounding like drugs, I think.
That's amazing.
And I actually trended on Twitter for a joke about the Jingle Jangle in some way. So it's funny that it's a Riverdale thing too, but I don't know which came before the other one now, to be honest with you.
There have been so many lines in Riverdale that I've had to pause the show because I was laughing out loud at about how ridiculous they are. And that was one of them, of just like hopped up on meth or jingle jangle. Like, that's incredible. Like jingle jangle is such a good made up drug name. And then, yeah, it continues to be a large focus of that whole season. But yeah, it does sound like drugs. And clearly, do you think Riverdale saw your tweet and then made that the show?
So it was November 30th, 2017. I made the joke. But Trader Joe's definitely has Jingle Jangle. So when did Riverdale come out?
You said Trader Joe's is my drug dealer. Let me get an ounce of that jingle jangle. You literally made the joke that is in the show. Yeah. That's funny. That's very funny. Let's see. Riverdale season 2.
Wait, so hold on. So
oh my God.
There's a tweet from some random person that says Kevin Keller on Jingle Jangle is my spirit animal, #Riverdale. And that was tweeted like 2 weeks before I made the joke.
Okay, so yeah, because
it was Riverdale
season 2 is actively airing.
Oh, then my joke wasn't as funny. It was literally like something that was going on that is parallel thinking or parallel thoughts, whatever it's called. But yeah.
Oh, hang on. So you tweeted it in November of 2017. Episode 1 of season 2 came out in October of 2017. So it was just happening right then.
Gotcha.
That's amazing. I love that it's like when like the same bird evolves from 2 different birds on different continents. It's like that. You guys came to the same joke without knowing that the other people were inventing it at the same time. Anyway, it's that jingle jangle, everybody. But yeah, I I think I do disagree. To get back to Shade's email, I think the second arc is better than the first arc for me. I think the Honto stuff maybe did go a bit long on like he moped around a couple episodes too long for me. But we got all of the Log A9 stuff, which was super fun. We've got some awesome like writer on writer battles. I think all that stuff's really good. I missed a lot of the Stomach Family stuff. That's my negative, I think, for kind of the second arc, but I'm excited for that to come back. But I think I like more than I dislike, I guess, in the second arc here. All right. Shade has some other thoughts here in his email. Sends us some info from the producer's blog. Honto in a pile of trash, which is a fun image. And Shade tells us that the chocolate frap that the two had in the episode was actually a collaboration with a brand called Godiva. The scene was filmed on a hot day, so the cast enjoyed it very much. The drink is called Choco Lixer. Choco Lixer. So there you go. Now you know.
Yeah. A dark chocolate decadence Choco Lixer. No, see, like, it looks like all the other Frappuccinos. Like the topping definitely looks whipped and just like icy slush. But that's fair. Because I was looking at something else today. I noticed like Gavv. Oh, this episode when they're doing like the "I'll carry you down this long road, my friend," like the footsteps poem about Jesus or God or whatever.
Yeah. When there's only one set of footprints. Yeah.
So I usually get when they do the credit stuff, I usually watch the little scroll things because it's always interesting to me of like what companies have sponsorships or what's tied to what. Like a lot of like TV shows sometimes use Unreal Engine, and that was always funny to me, like that kind of vibe. And Godiva flashed by today, and I was like, "Oh, the chocolates. That makes sense. There's probably some weird chocolate sponsorship there." But I didn't realize it was specifically I didn't realize it was specifically because of the shake.
There you go. Now you know. Shade also tells us that Hanto finally got to do some motorcycle scenes. That was one thing we didn't talk about as we were talking about the episode, but we got a little bit of a motorcycle bit here because Shoma spawns a motorcycle and tells Hanto to get out of here. So we get to see Hanto riding a motorcycle.
And Sugar even goes, "Oh, there goes the real master rider," like a real nod to like, "Hey, look, he's on a motorcycle thing."
Yeah, that was awesome. I loved that. Shay tells us that that Hanto had never ridden a motorcycle until now. So there's that. And I sent you some pictures of how they film it, which is interesting, like a green screen and stuff. Like, you know, we talk about a lot when we complain about the lack of motorcycle in Kamen Rider, that it's due to like laws and it's really hard to ride these bikes on the street and film and do it. So clearly when they do motorcycle stuff, it involves a big production. They have to kind of do green screens on a closed set and stuff. So that's why you don't see much.
So I know how CG works and all that shit. It's not really a dig on this necessarily. It's funny to see this beat up dude with his trench coat and everything else holding a pink motorcycle in front of what looks like green construction paper. Because you can even see the scene where they like glued the boards together.
Yeah.
And just like something about like there's no other way to do it. And it's obviously the smartest way to do it. It's just funny that in 2025, we just have some dude standing out in the woods in front of like cardboard green. I'm like, hey, let's do a fancy thing.
It is. I find it very endearing. You even see this with like Hollywood productions and stuff. When you see the behind the scenes, just how low budget it all looks. Like even like a Marvel movie or something, you see it before they've done all their like editing passes, and you see them on the green screen backgrounds and stuff, and you see the suits in real life instead of like CG'd. You're like, yeah, this looks kind of bad, but like it's in a cool way. Like it's like, yeah, somebody just made this.
So I forget. It's
always very fun.
I forget who made it on YouTube, and every time I try to find it, it takes me a fucking hour. So I'm not gonna be able to help anyone specifically. There's a real good video that's like 8 minutes called like the general history of green screens or something like that, and it's not so much informational. It's, hey, here's a movie from the 30s and how they did the quote unquote CG to remove this. And here's stuff from the 60s and like the new stuff. And I never really put that much stock into it because I'm a very simple, naive man. But when they show like new TV shows, like just normal procedural shows, like one was like an episode of like Ugly Betty and one was like a CSI episode. They show you the scene. They cut out where the green screen is and show you what the actual scene was and then put the background back on.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And it's actually absurd to see how much of the background is blocked out when it looked like a full city with moving people and cars and everything else. And you actually watch the scene and it was literally just like her walking down the steps by herself. And they someone put in like 100 people, 20 cars, a Starbucks, 5 traffic lights. And it's actually crazy to see how much is actually not there when people are acting to it. Like the obvious ones you can tell, like, okay, they're not on the moon, or this remote location looks a little too safe or well lit. Like you can tell this is fake. But like the real good, like the good city fill-ins, I guess is like the main one, where it looks like there's 1,000 people there and there's really nobody there, is like super impressive to me.
Yeah, there's probably some like movie dork out there being like, I can always tell when they're using CG. And it's like, no, idiot, because they're always using CG. Like there's so many that you just don't know because it's like minuscule. Like I made bystander number 4 in the background, and you didn't even realize it wasn't a real person. And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff's crazy. How much of movies we see is just not there when they're filming it.
Well, there's
It'd be hard to be an actor for that, right? Like, how do I know like where I am and what I'm doing? It's just everything's green.
that's why like all the live action things, like the upcoming Lilo and Stitch would be the most recent example coming up. But like going backwards, like there's live action How I Met a Dragon, How I Met My Dragon, whatever the fuck it's called, and there's tons of stuff where the actors, whether they're kids, adults, whatever, who can emote in a way to a obviously not living thing, which is probably just a person in a green jumpsuit, to cry, be terrified, look in amazement at the world they just popped into, is actually super impressive to me, because it seems really weird to think about the actor in the scene staring at a green wall. They get this dramatic shot of them like crying, bawling, like, oh, I found Pandora. Holy shit, this is amazing. And to actively think this person is looking at nothing. They're sitting here by themselves looking at nothing. And it feels real. And it feels like a really good way to like actually like fuck up the way you think about things. I think as an actor, like your whole life is this weird, like, I remember doing this and I was talking to this green dot, and you watch it on TV and it's like, wow, like you look terrified from that dinosaur when your head was in its mouth. And it's like, no, I did none of these things, but thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah. It's like you lived a whole life that didn't actually happen. Yeah.
And there's always that dumb, I forget if it was ever confirmed to be a real thing or a fake thing, but there's that famous story, meme, whatever, of like the Lord of the Rings guy, Sir Ian McKellen, how he is, where like when he got to the first fully green screened set, he cried because of how fake it was, and he's like, I hate this.
I mean, yeah, I guess too, like, you know, like him, like if you have a history, like you said, of plays and like elaborately created sets and stuff, that would be pretty jarring for you.
It would have to be.
Like, oh, I don't get to just live in this world that you've created for me. I have to like, you do that later? Weird. Toby, Shades has some information for you about the chocolate frappe, and it's just gonna blow your mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The chocolate frappe is the first Gochizo to talk in full sentences. On top of that, this Gochizo is actually a twin. The cream and chocolate part are two separate beings that can speak individually.
Well, that sounds exciting.
Yeah. They have different eyes. Like the bottom part has blue eyes, and there's like one red eye on the top part for the cream. So that's fun. Apparently there were no scripts made for the Frappe Gochizo, so every line of dialogue was ad-libbed by the voice actor. So there you go. And I sent you another image of the use of dry ice smoke to create the cool, refreshing frappe. I thought that looked awesome from the behind the scenes.
Like throwing everyone throwing dust in his face, basically.
Exactly, yeah. It looks like just throwing dust in his face. So they can do like a real close-up zoom shot right on him. Very cool. So yeah, always fun to see the behind the scenes stuff here from the producer's blog, and thanks Shade for sending those along. There's also some interesting stuff about Suga here. Shade says
he's not really dead. Yeah.
Shade says he got a farewell gift, which it seems to indicate that
Hey,
today is supposedly his last day of shooting. Yeah, there you go. Shade says, that's it for today's trivia. Hope you guys are all buckled up because you're not prepared for what the gang's about to do in the next episode. Now I'll be off to watch the finale of Red Ranger Isekai. Bye. I need to catch up on that. Yeah. Now that it's in pure Toby fashion, now that it's out, I can watch the whole thing, right?
Yeah. I both think it's stupid when they drop whole seasons, but I also am the one that's like, why would I just watch the whole season at once? So,
that's how I want them.
So I'm both I'm the problem and the cause, or the problem and the solution, or however that works.
I'm terrible at keeping up with a show week to week. And I know that's funny saying that as the host of a podcast about a show that we watch every week.
This is forced, though. That's what helps.
Exactly. That's what makes me do. Like, I like Kamen Rider so much that it's helpful that it keeps me on target watching each episode, because otherwise I get really excited about it. I watch whatever's available, and then I forget before the next week, and then I forget to go check again because I'm so hyper fixated on things all the time. So my hyperfixation in the week-long wait moves on to something else. And I was like, oh God, yeah, Kamen Rider, I'll remember like 2 months later. So I much prefer when I can just download a whole season and then just, again, hyperfixate and plow through it. So that's always nice.
I know that other people have that problem too. And I guess because my brain doesn't work that way, I can't imagine living life like that. That seems beyond like obviously it's a simple, stupid thing, but like that seems crazy to me that there's no retention. And I don't know why. Like not to be super judgy, but like I just don't understand how that can be done.
Yeah, even like stuff that I'm like watching with my wife, like if we don't watch it like on the rate of like an episode every other day or so, I will mostly just forget we were watching it until she's like, hey, you want to watch more of this? I'm like, oh yeah, we should do that. Yeah, I don't know. That's just how I am.
I don't know either.
All right. Yeah, Shade, thanks very much for the email. If you want to send in emails, send those over to cast@kamenwritersucks.com. Once again, cast@kamenwritersucks.com. All right. Toby, this has been kind of a longer episode. You got any final thoughts for the people before we let them go along on their way?
Yes, the YouTube video is called TV Without Green Screen on the channel Writer67. The video is 15 years old, but it's 4 minutes of popular media and showing how much is actually green screened out. And everyone should watch that if you have any remote interest in what I've been rambling about, because it's amazing.
And 15 years old. Imagine how much worse it is today now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's crazy to think about that was going on 15 years ago and it's only progressed. That's cool.
Aside from that, you can find me on YouTube at Tobes Plays, on Twitter, the Everything app, Life of Tobes, and on Retro Achievements as Tobes Plays. But Retro Achievements isn't as fun to follow right now because I've slowed down dramatically to finish everything in Yakuza.
Oh, nice. You can find me on Blue Sky at meek.lol. Of course, also follow the show on Blue Sky at kamenwritersucks.com. And of course, subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/prettydeece is where you can find that. Or just search for the Comment Writers on YouTube and you should find it. Of course, give us a like, give us a review, wherever you are listening to this show, on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up or whatever. Give us a subscribe.
Ring that bell.
Ring that bell. Ring that notification bell. Whatever it takes. Whatever mechanism your platform gives you for saying that you like us. Please avail yourself of that option. That is always very helpful for us.
Give us a scrabble.
Yeah, go ahead and tell Last FM that you love listening to us. That'd be great. Yeah, that is going to do it for us for this week. We're glad you tuned in. This was a fun one. I really like this episode, and I really am liking this season. I'm excited to see where it goes next. And you can find out where it goes next as well if you join us back here next week to talk about episode 29. But until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.